Yo, welcome back to just more work on the Cuda. Far more work than I even. I just thought I was gonna put on the coilover kit and that'd be it. But here we are. It's like 3 videos later already of just different things. Just a whole debacle. But on a good note, garage door's fixed, so I have airflow, and I have somewhere to work in the shade because it is toasty. The cicadas are cicadaing. It's hot. So, where am I at? I got all the parts I needed. So, let's start with strut rods. So, this was the strut rod that I thought broke. Well, technically it did kind of break, but it didn't snap this in half like I thought. So this end goes in there like that. And what it was is it was pulled out so much from it was only hanging in there. It was only in, so it was really only in there like that much. Those last 2 threads were really all that was inside this tube. And also, the way I had it tightened is, let me try to give you a visual representation. So it connects to the front right here on this end, and this goes through the lower control. This end goes through the lower control arm. Well, see how it pivots up and down like this on this end? It doesn't do side to side stuff. It only goes up and down. I tightened it like it was like this. So it needed to be like this. Tightened up there like that so that this could move up and down freely with the control arm. I had it turned this way so it wasn't doing all this that it needed to do in the correct direction. So it was putting a lot of stress right there. And that's what happened here. This could be reused probably. It would, but I don't know. I think the first 2 threads in there are no good. So I'm not 100% sure how that would be fixed, but I'm not using them anyway, so there's no need for me to fix them. So I actually ordered 2 sets of strut rods. I ordered a set from Firm Feel, which is a company that makes Mopar stuff, and they have big beefy strut rods. So their strut rod is bigger than this one. This one I believe is the same size as the factory one. Oh no, it's beefier than the factory one. So we'll go this way. So that strut rod is definitely beefier. But from Firm Feel, they have an HD rod, and I ordered those. But of course, I think like 2 days had passed, and I hadn't heard anything from them about, because you can't pay online. You have to email them payment information or call them. So right after I ordered, I sent payment information through my email. I didn't hear anything from them. So I called them the next day, and the guy's like, oh, hold on, let me search for it. What was your name? Blah, blah, again. So I give him all the information that was in the email. And then he's like, and then I give him my payment over the phone, which is 2 days after I already ordered. And then he goes to say, oh yeah, we have those in stock, but we move pretty slow here. So it'll probably be about 2 weeks until you get it. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. So I ordered those just to have them on standby. So I'll get them in like 2 weeks from now. So I ordered these from Mancini Racing, and I got them within 2 days so that I could obviously fix the car. And they were $130. The biggest issue, well, let's say this is just a Mopar issue. where is it? This, well, there's a washer somewhere. I got these washers, but there's a specific washer that goes on these that comes off of the factory ones, and I didn't know you needed to keep them because I thought they were just washers that you could get. But of course, Mopar being Mopar, you can't just get, hold on, I have it somewhere. Okay, of course it disappeared. But of course, you can't just buy that factory style washer. You have to buy like a torsion bar rebuild kit or something. And all it is some bushings and those washers. And it's like $100. And I was like, I am not paying $100 for some damn washers. So I just went and got some from the hardware store. And of course, I forgot to put a washer on this end that presses up against the, I'm trying to give you guys visuals so I'm not talking a whole lot and you can actually see what I'm talking about. And of course, where are those? So these right here, sandwich right there, and that washer, not on this end but on that end, this is what it's supposed to look like. That washer goes right there. And of course, that one I put in the other, so I fixed this side already. I put that one in the other day, but I forgot to put the washer. So it's just sitting there with no washer, but it does come with a metal sleeve. So I'm hoping I can not take the whole suspension apart again. And that sleeve kind of act like a washer, I guess you could say, and keep the rod from going all the way through the bushing. But I'm sure that'll come apart while I'm driving at some point. So I got to put this in on the passenger side, and of course I can't just take this one off and stick this one in. I have to take apart the entire bracket, lower control arm bracket. I have to pull so I got to pull the spindle back off with the brakes. I have to pull the lower frame bracketry off. I have to pull the lower control arm back out just to get this one in. And then on top of that, I found where my power steering is leaking. This is just from yesterday. Ridiculous. So I thought it's been leaking from the bottom side, where I thought it's been leaking through a gasket or not a gasket, but a seal in here on the pitman arm. I think it'd be called a pitman arm seal. But in fact, it is leaking just under this shaft. There's a seal or like an O-ring around this shaft, and that is where it's leaking horribly, which is new. So what I did, how do I have two workbenches and no room? So what I did was something that's going to help me in two different ways. One, I went and I got a manual gearbox, which is what I 100% prefer to have. I wish this car had already been manual steering and manual brakes. That is my preferred setup on any classic old school car. Manual is just much more simple. Manual brakes can work great if you set them up correctly. And manual power steering, or manual power steering didn't exist. Manual steering always means less hassle, because now I get to never have to deal with a power steering leak again. And then I'm sure you're wondering, well, what do you do about the power steering pump? Because I'm not going to change the accessory bracket kit, so I'm going to keep the power steering pump, so I'm just going to keep fluid in it. But what I'm going to do is where the high pressure line bolts to the pump, I'm going to put this AN fitting in there, and then I'm just going to cap it. Just throw this cap on there, and that is capped. All I got to do is keep fluid in the power steering fluid reservoir, and that'll be good to go. But this will take away any future power steering leaks, and also this is much smaller physically than the power steering gearbox that's in there, which means when I go to do the whole long tube header configuration, I'll have much more room for headers, for header clearance. So I'm gonna knock out 8 birds with 1 stone basically. But I've never replaced one of these, so we'll see how difficult it is. It shouldn't be too difficult. I think it's just 2 bolts, 1 right here and, oh no, 2 right here and 1 right here. Yeah. And then there's this adapter you have to get, or you can get, to run your power steering shaft, because your power steering shaft is going to be shorter because the gearbox is actually longer than a manual gearbox. So instead of trying to buy a whole new shaft, you just get this adapter, and that connects your power steering shaft to the manual gearbox. But yes, oh, and then I got lowering blocks. I got 1-inch lowering blocks to take out the 2-inch lowering blocks. And of course, that ain't gonna work. That little pin right there. So I found the ones I was looking for in the other video. Notice that pin, how much bigger it is than this one. What is this for, like a golf cart or something? That makes no sense. So, gotta return those. I think these came off of the first 69 Camaro I LS swapped and did suspension work to. I think that's why I have these. So I'm gonna possibly swap these out with the 2-inch ones, but it really depends on how I have it sitting once the suspension's actually done. But enough talking. It's hot. I gotta turn my fan on. I get to work because my luck, this is gonna take 3 weeks. But I'll bring y'all back when I have updates. I'm not looking forward to this, but let's get into it. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about. That is leaking so bad. That's crazy. Okay, so see how that is angled this way and not this way like it should be? Luckily this side didn't break, but that is supposed to, I need to clock it this way so that it's in line with the lower control arm, so that when the control arm does this, it's not binding like it did on the other side. That's probably also a reason why I was having that issue where I couldn't press down on the front of the car and have any travel. It was probably because I had these installed incorrectly. But they let me see if I can do it right now. So there we go. So it should be, I'm trying to hold it. It should be installed like that. I had it clocked like that. Should have been like that, but user error, obviously. But have to take this brace back off, have to take the brake line off, have to take the tie rod out, have to unbolt all that. Got to take the shock out, which I need to raise them up anyways. I think all I did on the other side, I just took the upper control arm off, and then I just lowered this down, and then I put that strut rod in after I took everything else off. But this should go by faster because I already did it on the other side, even though on the other side I was hoping, oh, you know, I'll take 10 minutes and put that strut rod in. Well, that turned into 2 hours. So I'm trying not to take that long because I really want to get the power steering pump done this weekend because I want to drive the car. Oh, I also thought about the exhaust. I don't know why I haven't thought about this before, but this exhaust, it's a V-band here at the end of the manifold, and then connects to the downpipe. I could have just taken that whole downpipe off, well, now with the torsion bar out, taken that downpipe off and weld all the way around the connector piece so I don't have an exhaust leak. It's running really bad right now, and I'm hoping it's just because of that. I'm hoping none of my sparks or anything messed up any wires, but it is not running good. I'm hoping maybe it's just oldish gas or something. I'm hoping that once I actually start driving it again, it'll clear itself out. But let me get to working on that so we can get this over with. So I got the suspension all tightened up. So I learned that with the strut bars, you don't tighten them until you have all the weight of the suspension on the ground and you have the alignment done per se. I have it done just enough, but we'll see how it goes. I'll have to explain it to you later. It's nothing that's gonna keep me from driving. I did a little body work to my front left fender that was caved in, and I've never messed with it. And I beat it out so it flattened it back out like it's supposed to be. And now that wheel rubs it if I turn too far to the right, which is weird because I never had that issue on the passenger side, and there's nothing wrong, and it's the same size wheel and everything. So oh my gosh, is that what suspension's supposed to feel like? Oh my goodness. This is running horribly. I still don't have a good brake pedal. I bled the brakes. I don't understand. brake pedal's going way too far. I'm starting to think that the running bad issue is not that exhaust leak. Going over these big speed bumps in the neighborhood, and so far so good. Aside from no brake pedal. Oh, the suspension is a trillion times better. It is such a night and day difference. Send this bad boy to about 5,000 RPMs and see if that makes it run better. I bet these spark plugs are so fouled out though, that could be the whole issue. But I gotta hurry up and get home before all my power steering fluid leaks out. Is a mucho goodo. Let's not speak too soon. I haven't made it back to the driveway yet. That's what I did last time, and my strut rod broke off. Oh, I smell my power steering fluid just leaking away. Do now is the alignment, because my steering wheel is most of the way to the left as far as needing to be straight. It needs to go 90 degrees to the right. Oh my gosh. Oh, that brake pedal is bad. Oof. The running issue is like from a dead stop and then going, it just bogs down so bad, and it like chugs and it doesn't want to go, and then it takes off. Which it could be a crappy fuel injector making it run rich, because it's just a used intake that I stuck on. I think a year ago now, over a year. oil pressure gauge on it and make sure that the fuel pump is still regulated, because these Holley retrofit in-tank pumps, they're regulated to 60 psi. So hopefully the pump hasn't messed up for some reason, which I highly doubt it, and it's pushing more than 60 psi. But we finally won on the suspension. Finally. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna soften the shocks a tad bit, but I have them 10 clicks up from 0. I'm gonna go down to 8. But all right, this is my steering wheel. See how that's straight right now, so we gotta, or what I could do is pop this off. I could just take the steering wheel off and then make it straight without having to touch the alignment stuff, which would be the tie rods and whatnot. But that's how. Why is it so dark? But that's about. Well, hello. Just gone right through. I need that needs to go up higher. I'm not a fan of how. I just want it a little bit higher, but I don't know. I still might have to keep those 2-inch lowering blocks on it. We'll see. But all right. Oh, I'll see y'all tomorrow when I do the steering. Oh, hello. Just. And there's the investor. Hey, I need some money. Let me borrow $20 to the mall. Alright. It is 2 days later, and this is where we're at. Well, let me grab this real quick. So, getting there. I came out yesterday and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do a little bit to get started, but I'm not gonna try to change the gearbox all in one time. Well, I lied to myself. I have it unbolted, and I finally got this off, which are the coupler, which should definitely be replaced, but it's definitely not going to get replaced anytime soon. So yesterday I thought that this would work if I just got this. It was a smaller Phillips. I thought that I could just use that to hammer through the pin, the pin, but it ended up getting stuck in it, just like this did, which I need to get that out because I'm gonna need that at some point, or I'll just throw it all away. It was only this whole kit. This is it wrist pin? No, the pin. I just went blank. It's so hot out here. I got a kit for $8 on Amazon. So, but anyways, I got this jammed in there, so I had to cut it off with the angle grinder, and that was a whole debacle. And then I come out here and I get the correct tool, and I knock this out within 2 minutes. So now all I have left is the actual curvy guy. What? Come on. Oh, it's so hot. I can't think straight. The pitman arm. Got to get that disconnected, and then I can finally pull this bad boy out and get that manual gearbox in. I also just realized that did I leave it? No, it's right here. I also realized that this bad boy is too small for This is a dash 6 AN fitting. It is too small to plug the port right there. It's definitely a dash 8 AN. So maybe at some point I'll order the correct one, but for now I'm just going to try and find a bolt, just a 5/8 bolt that I can screw in there. I test fit this on yesterday and ran it once because I wanted to see my fuel pressure. I'll show you guys this kit later on, or where I got this, and well, I got it from Amazon. But anyways, and just to see if the running issue was a fuel pressure problem, and it wasn't. Running, I had 60 psi, which is exactly what you want, 58, 60 psi. But let me get that out so I can get this on, and once this is on and connected, I am finally done, aside from needing to, I gotta realign the whole front end again, and I need to raise the coilover shocks. So I've realized that the coilover shocks, or the coilovers themselves, the spring rate is now too light. So I'm winding up the coil spring to raise the car, and it doesn't really raise it much, and that's because the 350-pound spring rate is too light. So at some point I'm gonna have to get 450-pound springs, but that's not happening anytime soon. Once the gearbox is on and everything's connected and I get the alignment halfway decent, it's good to go. I'm tired of working on this. This thing's been kicking my ass. This should have been done forever ago, but that's how it goes here. So let me do this and that so we can get this over with. All right, so had a nice little war to get that bad boy out. I smashed my finger with the tickle stick. But if you're not familiar with Mopar stuff, here is the size difference in power steering versus manual steering. Look, I can one hand this because this is only, I think 18 pounds. This bad boy is 40 pounds, 38 pounds, I think. But yeah, huge difference. So that took me a hot second to get out. But also, if you're doing this, you have to get a pitman arm. So luckily I had some common sense beforehand. I didn't just order the first pitman arm that told me it fit on this car. I was like, well, if it's a manual gearbox, I assume the pitman arm is going to be different than a power steering gearbox. And I was correct. So you use basically, it's a pitman arm for like a 70s Dodge Dart with manual steering. I think it's part number 7505, I think it was. But just for the heck of it, I'll put it down in the description. But luckily I avoided that headache, which I'm sure just a year ago or so I definitely would have probably ordered the wrong one. But now I'm gonna brake clean this, get it out, get it cleanisher, and then I'm gonna stab in the manual gearbox, hook it back up, change my spark plugs, put the header back on, plug that with a bolt. Hopefully I have one. And then I gotta mess with the alignment a little bit more in the springs. That might not be in the video. And then hopefully drive it tomorrow, and then it breaks, and then we're back here. Or actually, the next video you see is me just throwing something on the gas pedal and it flying off a cliff. But let's see what that looks like when I get that put in. All right, so it is the end of the video. It is the next day, of course, because where I cut off yesterday, I worked for like another 2 hours because, of course, simple little easy things did not do what they're supposed to do. So first, before we get into it, I just came back from the gym First time driving it since I completed. I got the manual steering in. I got the wheels just about level on the ground. The steering is the wheel is only about 45 degrees off now rather than 90 degrees. This wheel needs to come in some, and this wheel needs to come in some, and that should even it out much better. But it's not too bad. I could easily drive it the way it is without issue. USA, USA, USA. Sorry. But one thing I learned, and I don't know how I didn't put two and two together, probably because I'm acoustic. You can't plug a power steering pump that creates high pressure flow. Let me show you why. My power steering pump acted like it had Taco Bell last night and absolutely erupted because it was making pressure and the pressure had nowhere to go. It was smoking on the way to the gym. I knew it was the power steering pump and I didn't care because I don't need it. But it exploded and I have no idea where. I think directly underneath the pump, I think it literally exploded through the pump itself because I heard metal, I heard just something pop, and as I was driving, I heard metal just hit the floor or hit the road. So I was worried that it was something suspension related, but I can see everything suspension related still intact. Oh, hey. Everything suspension related is still all there, but I can't see the bottom of the pump. But with the massive explosion, the pump definitely exploded somewhere. And now I have power steering fluid absolutely everywhere. But aside from that, it's good. The steering is super stiff. I don't know if that's how these manual gearboxes are, but it literally feels like no power steering. I thought, from what I can remember on vehicles I've had with manual steering, but it's been a decade, is that it was still, relatively easy to turn one-handed. I don't expect a one finger this, one finger that like power steering. But this one, you really gotta manhandle it. But no more leaks after this, hopefully. I might end up changing the bracketry a lot sooner than later. Because the power steering pump, of course, whines when you first start it up. It goes away as you're driving. It's just a slight whine, so maybe I could pass it off as I got a Helicat engine in here. But probably not. But anyways, I bled the brakes a little bit more before I went to the gym because I had no pedal. I have the pedal I had before I had no pedal, if that makes sense. I went to bleed the rear brakes, and of course, how this channel goes, come on, where are you at? Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, so you're just gonna act like... There. I snapped off the bleeder screw on the rear Can I stop forgetting names of things? I snapped the bleeder screw on this bad boy. And of course, that was the one where I put that new shoe on it, so I might have had better braking because I would have had 2 shoes working correctly rather than just one. But I snapped that off. Luckily, it doesn't bleed any brake fluid out when the pedal is pressed, which means it's clogged, which also isn't good. But of course, just something else to add to the list. But other than that, we're good to go. I changed this side spark plugs when I had the manifold off. But look at all the room I have now for whatever exhaust system I do next, which will of course be long tubes. Oh, that was the thing I didn't get to show you. So that dowel or roll pin, of course, will not go all the way in. I hammered that. I spent an hour trying to get this in. So you line up the coupler and this adapter to where there's a big space that you can knock the roll pin in. This went in within like 10 seconds perfectly. This side, this end, I had it lined up perfectly just like this one, and it would not go in. Oh my gosh, you have no idea. I went to war with that thing, and I only got it a quarter of the way in, and it's gonna stay like that until I care enough to go back and just go to war with it again. The thing is, it's okay. It's more so okay if I have that one completely out rather than that one, because this can go this way, can come this way if it needs to, like if it's loose, because it can't fall off. It's this one that I would be worried about if that wasn't all the way in there, because if this coupler comes disconnected from the attachment, the whatchamacallit, this bad boy, then that's an issue. But since I got that roll pin in, I'm not too worried about it. So I gotta clean all that power steering fluid up. I'll change this bracket. I'll get rid of the power steering pump at some point. I just don't care right now. It can whine all it wants. At this point, if the engine blows up, I don't care anymore. I'm tired of working on it. It's too hot for all this. Even though I'm used to it, it doesn't really bother me. It's just a pain. But I appreciate you watching. July 22nd, I get to reapply for monetization. We'll see how that goes. I'm not holding my breath. If I don't get remonetized, we're gonna have to go to my backup channel, and I'm gonna have to start all over from the ground up. So, appreciate you watching. If you want to donate, it's highly. Bear says hi. If you want to donate, I appreciate you. Treat me like your unk. Let me borrow $20 to the mall. But working on shirts. Like, subscribe, comment for the algorithm. Monte Carlo's coming at some point. Don't worry. You'll see it when you see it. But appreciate you watching. Go build something.